Hi and welcome back to my channel. This will be the last video of the Fluttershy Halloween costume. This will involve the body, the feet, and it goes into a little bit of the tail, but I apparently forgot to press record when I made that. As with all my patterns, I make my own with saran wrap and masking tape, and I do that on a mannequin I have that's about her size. So with a pattern for the legs and a pattern for the upper torso, I go ahead and combine those together to make a full bodysuit. And then I go ahead and trace that onto some flannel. This flannel here will not be the outer fabric. This is just to create the bodysuit and also to attach the padding to underneath the main fabric. And I cut 2 of each of the front pieces and 2 of the back pieces. And I use a fabric marker to trace my patterns out. And with those pieces cut out, I go ahead and separate them, and I do one front to one back for each side. And then I go ahead and sew the side seams up together and the shoulder seams. I also connect the back center seam together, but I do not connect the front. With the underbody suit done, I go ahead and I stuff it with some pillow foam that I had left over just so I can create a body shape, because now I'm going to add the padding to the costume. I'm just using some regular cushion foam that's about 1 inch thick, cutting it to the shape I need, and then hot gluing it to the areas which is around her hips and her butt and her back legs to make it more horsey-like or pony-like. I actually learned this technique from RuPaul's Drag Race and how they created pads. You create the hip pads in the shape of Africa, is what they said. And the easiest way to cut this stuff is with a pair of scissors and an electric carving knife. With the padding on, I go ahead and saran wrap it and masking tape it again, so that way I can make another pattern for the outer fabric. And once the masking tape and saran wrap is on, I just go ahead and draw my seams and then cut the pattern off. And with the new pattern, I go ahead and get the outer fabric out and go ahead and cut my pieces. I cut 2 back, 2 front, just like I did with the inner, as well as 2 sleeves, and I also create a small hood with this fabric too. And I put it together the same way I did the inner fabric for the body part. And once those few seams are done, I go ahead and install a zipper to the front. And once the zipper is installed, I go ahead and finish sewing up the front center seam. With the front center and the back center seams done, I go ahead and align the middle seams together to sew up the inner legs. And when sewing this, I always start from the middle of the fabric of the seam and sew down to the end of the leg, and then turn it over and do the other side. Now on to the arm. I did make these arms a bit too wide. I wanted them more of a fitted to the body. So here's the normal size, and soon it will be cut down. And the way I wanted it to look is where the hand part of the arm is going to be more of a rounded cone shape, whereas it tapers back to the wrist and then goes onto the shoulder. Hopefully that made sense, but if it didn't, you'll see the way the shape is here. I did connect some interfacing because I wanted this to kind of keep its shape so it kind of looks like a pony hoof. My goal is to make this costume kind of look like the humanoid versions of My Little Pony. And with that done, I go ahead and sew up the side seam on that. I do make a lining for these because I want to hide the interfacing on the inside. So I do go ahead and sew up 2 more pieces without interfacing. With the lining sewn and the outer arm sewn, I go ahead and turn one of them inside out so it gets right side to right side, and I match up the hand seam and sew that together so it creates a finished edge at the hand. The goal for the sleeves is to make them long enough so they can kind of hide my daughter's hands so it looks like the pony hooves, but also allow her to use her hands. And once that's sewn together, I go ahead and clip off any excess seam, and then I flip them right sides out, whereas the lining is on the inside and the piece with the interfacing is on the outside. And then I go ahead and top stitch that down so the lining does not show. With the sleeves done, I go ahead and attach it to the body. And the way I cut the bottom of the costume, it flares out kind of like a horse's hoof, and then I just go ahead and give that a hem. The way I created the wings was not going to work with the bodysuit that I made, so I had to come up with a different way of creating a opening in the back of the bodysuit. So I actually cut a line down the back where the wings will hit. I did make a little flap to hook onto it, so that way when the wings are installed, I just lift up the flap and put the wings into the pouch that I sewed into the inner bodysuit, and then I put the flap back down, and that will hide the opening in the back, so it's basically invisible on how the wings are installed. And to hold the flap down onto the costume, I did use this Velcro that's supposed to stick to fabric, but it does not stick to this fabric, and I use flannel because it's usually cold during Halloween. And this was kind of a makeup as you go, so I really didn't get that great of shots, but here I am actually attaching the flap to the back part of the costume. And then once the flap's on, I will go ahead and reattach the sides together. I also create that same hole and another flap for the tail as well. Now, what's a My Little Pony without her cutie mark? And this is Fluttershy, and she has 3 pink butterflies sitting on her booty. So I cut a butterfly shape out of some pink fleece. That's all I had on hand. And I hand stitched that onto the back part of the left butt cheek. And with the 3 butterfly bases on, I go ahead and take some blue embroidery thread and I create the body of the butterfly. I created as far as the simple hood goes. It's just a hood just to cover her head so that way her mask doesn't irritate her ears or anything like that. For the hooves, I actually created the base part, the sole of it, out of EVA floor mats, and I used my electric knife to cut that out. And then with the excess cushion foam, I go ahead and create a hoof shape around that EVA foam. And again, I just made this up as I went. And once I had my shape done, I went ahead and took some more interfacing because I wanted it a little bit longer, but I wanted it to keep its shape as well up on top. And I glued some interfacing onto the top of the hoof. This also helped the transitioning between the foam to her leg. And then I went ahead and covered it in the same exact flannel I used for the body. On the inside, I did go ahead and I glue some elastic straps on so they just go around her feet so she's able to walk in them. The tail I created exactly like I did the main part, except for I attached a wire to the top of the tail so that way I can make a loop and attach it to a pouch inside the costume itself, like the way I attached the wings. I thought I hit record on the camera when I made it, but apparently I did not. And with that, the costume is actually done. And here she is, trying it on before I got the fabric on the hoofs. I think it came out really cute and actually pretty good. The wings are not my favorite. I think if I do wings again, I'm going to try to do something different. But she loved it, and that's what matters. And here she is with it fully done, getting ready to go trick-or-treating. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you next time.